Good day, children. Once again, welcome to this English class. And today, from the snapshot, the supplementary reader, we are going to do the last lesson, that is birth. And you are very much aware of the meaning of the word birth. You celebrate your birthdays and you are very happy during those days. So this story is based on the birth of a baby that was born dead, and how the doctor made an effort to revive the baby. The doctor at present he did not know what to do regarding the saving of the baby or the mother, because both were serious and he could not understand what to do. Then his mind was set up. He first tried to save the mother and then he saved the baby. So how much effort he had to make for all those things. So here in this story, the beginning says that the characters over here, Andrew is the doctor, Joe Morgan is the husband of the lady who was expecting, that is Susan, and Mrs. Morgan's mother was also there in the house. So when Joe went to the doctor's house, Dr. Andrew's house, he was not in the house. He had gone out for some to see some patient, to attend a patient. So he was not there. And when he returned, he found Joe Morgan was waiting for him. And he said, "You just wait, I'll go inside and I'll bring my bag and then I'll come with you." So he went inside, he picked up his bag with all the instruments that were needed, and he walked towards the house of Joe Morgan. And both of them, while walking towards the house, both were keeping quiet. And Joe Morgan, he was very much worried because his wife was expecting and he did not know what was going to happen. And the doctor, he was very much tired because of the whole day work, and it was the night time that he had to go again for the work. So both were walking towards the house, and when they reached the house was upstairs. Joe stayed downstairs only and the doctor went upstairs. And when he reached the house inside, he found Mrs. Morgan's mother. She was waiting over there for him. And then she said to him, the mother, she was, here the description of her mother is given. Mother was tall, she had a grey hair, and she looked nearly 70 years old. She was stout, little bit healthy, elderly midwife waiting beside the patient, and a midwife was also there. It's the one of the attendant, you can say the nurse. She was there. She was also helping the patient in the room, and they were watching doctor's expressions when he moved inside the room. Then the old lady, she said, "I'll go and make a cup of tea for you, doctor." And the doctor, he smiled at her and he looked at the old woman. And old woman, being 70 years old, she seemed to be quite experienced, and she realized that the doctor was very much tired because of the day's work. And so he just smiled at her, and she went inside to make tea for her. And he said to the mother of Mrs. Morgan that, "You don't worry, I'm not going to run away from here. I'll attend to the patient. I'll be here till everything is over and then I'll go. So you don't worry that I'll be running away from here." And she went, she prepared the tea. The doctor also went in the kitchen. He sat over there. She gave him tea, and he knew that he could not snatch even an hour's sleep if he went home. And he knew that if he went home leaving the patient over here, he won't be able to sleep, because it was his duty to attend to the patient, and the case was also very much complicated and the great attention was needed over there. And the spirit came upon him, a strange feeling came upon him, and he decided to remain over there till everything was over. So he wanted to look after the patient, he wanted to attend the patient till all the problems were solved. And later he went upstairs again, then again he went up and he saw the progress that was there, and then he came and again sat by the kitchen fire. It was still, except for the rustling of a cinder in the grate and the slow tick-tock of the wall clock. Everything was calm and quiet, only the burning of the wood or the coal, the sound was coming out of it, and the clock was making sound, tick-tock sound was coming out from there. No, there was another sound, the beating of Morgan's footstep as he paced in the street outside. So with these two sounds, there was the sound of Mr. Morgan, who was out in the street. He was walking up and down because he was feeling restless what is happening inside. And the old woman, she was sitting, she was wearing a black dress, she was sitting quite in front of him, and she was sitting motionless, and her eyes were quite glittering, and she was quite wise, and she was looking continuously at the doctor's face. And the doctor's face was also quite heavy and muddled. He was puzzled. The episode he had witnessed at Cardiff station still obsessed him morbidly, and he was sitting and thinking about the incident that took place in the station. He thought of Bramwell foolishly devoted to a woman who deceived him sordidly. So he was thinking about the people who were married and some or the other things had happened to them. One fellow was Bramwell, and his wife, she went away from him, she left him, and bound to the Swiss Baldwin of Denny, living unhappily apart from his wife. And again one fellow, Edward Page, his wife also left him. His son told him, his reason told him that all these marriages were dismal failure. And when he thought about the friends whose family was all broken down, so he was feeling very sad that the marriages are all fake, and everything comes in the means everything leads to sorrow, and so it is useless to marry. It was a conclusion in his present state made him wince, and the conclusion that he got out of it was quite dismal, sad for him. He wished to consider marriage as an idyllic state. Yes, he could not otherwise consider it was the image of Christine before him, and his girlfriend was Christine, and he thought of her, and then he thought about those friends, that their marriages were sad for them, so it is all useless to marry. Her eyes shining towards him admitted no other conclusion, and he thought of his girlfriend whose eyes were quite glittering, and he did not know what he should do. It was a conflict between his level, doubting mind and his overflowing heart, which left him resentful and confused, and he did not know what to do because he was very much confused with the life of those people, what he should do. He let his chin sink upon his chest, stretched out his legs, stared broodingly into the fire, and then he just stretched out his legs, and then he looked inside the fire. He remained like this so long, and his thoughts were so filled with Christine that he started when the old woman opposite suddenly addressed him. And he was there in deep thinking, and he was awakened only when the old woman said something to him. Her meditation had pursued a different course, and the mother, the old lady, she was meditating on the patient while the doctor was meditating on the girlfriend of his whom he liked, but he was afraid to marry her. Susan said not to give her old chloroform if it would harm the baby. She is awful set upon this child, doctor. Her old eyes warmed at a sudden thought. She added in a low tone, "Ah, we all are, I fancy." And then she said to the doctor, that Morgan's wife, Susan, she said not to give her chloroform because she thought that the chloroform might harm the baby, and she was very much particular. She did not want the baby to have any problem. So he collected himself with an effort. So when he was awakened by this old lady, he sat up properly. "It won't do any harm. The anesthetic," he said kindly, "they'll be all right." So he said those anesthetic, they are not going to harm the baby nor the mother, so don't worry about it. Here the nurse's voice was heard calling from the top landing. Andrew glanced at the clock, which now showed 3:30. And then they could hear the voice of the nurse. The nurse was calling out to them, and the doctor looked at the watch. The watch showed 3:30, means it was 3:30. And he got up and went to the bedroom. He perceived that he might now begin his work. Now it was time for the woman to give birth to the baby. So it was, means his works now started. An hour elapsed. It was a long, harsh struggle, and it took nearly an hour, and the struggle was very much. Then, as the first streak of dawn strayed past the broken edges of the blind, the child was born lifeless. And as the dawn, D-A-W-N, dawn, means the first light of the morning came out through the blinds, through the curtains, the child was born, and the child was lifeless. So that's all for today, children. Rest we'll do in the next class. Good day and good luck.